Thank you for joining our Save the Post Office Day of Action organizing call. We'll get started in just a moment. Hi everybody, I'm Porter McConnell and I'm the campaign director for Take on Wall Street, and I'll be your MC tonight. We're going to hear from APWU President Mark Diminsteen, APWU Secretary Treasurer Elizabeth Liz Powell, and DC Postal Worker Aaron Brown. Just to recap for those of you just joining the fight, we all stood up through the summer to save USPS, and postal workers delivered big in the election. But the fight to save the post office and build the post office that we deserve continues. APWU and allies like me and you are calling for a National Day of Action on November 17th, this upcoming Tuesday, to remind lawmakers that the Postal Service is always critical. So if you're ready to show your love for postal workers and join or host an event, head over to apwu.org to sign up. And now I'm excited to introduce a postal worker whose local union is already on the map. Aaron Brown is a postal worker in Washington, D.C. Aaron, can you tell folks why you're organizing an event for next Tuesday?
Yes, I can, Porter. Thank you for that introduction. Tuesday, we're organizing events across the country because we think it's important that we keep the Postal Service and our fight in the attention of the public. We've been fighting in our local all year this year. This has been a very trying, challenging year. We started early this year. We had some achievements on one of our signature pieces of legislation to get the pre-fund mandate eliminated. We got that passed through the House, and when we were moving it through the Senate, we were hit with COVID, and COVID decimated the mail volume, and there were concerns about, the agency moving forward and revenue for the agency. The Congress put money for the Postal Service in the original coronavirus package back in March, and it was prevented from going through due to the executive branch. We didn't think that was fair, so we organized events in June to say the Postal Service deserves money. We deserve $25 billion in COVID relief funding to keep the agency afloat, to keep the agency moving. We have been able to, since then, each piece of legislation that's been addressed for coronavirus, whether it came out of the House, the Senate, or the White House, has had money for the Postal Service in it. Well, while we were dealing with the coronavirus, the Board of Governors installed a new Postmaster General who did not have any experience with the Postal Service. And one of his first decisions in July severely delayed the mail. So in August, we had to have additional rallies across the country saying, hey, we're in a pandemic. The election is coming up. These decisions that you made to delay the mail can severely affect the mail-in ballot, absentee ballots across the country. So we need you to, rescind those policy decisions that slowed the mail. Those policy decisions were rescinded by the Postmaster General, but his words were that they were only going to be rescinded until the election. Well, the election was last week, and we want to get out before he can make a decision to say, hey, we do not want those policies reinstalled. They delayed the mail prior to the election, and they'll definitely delay the mail during what we consider peak season now and moving forward. It's important that we get this out to the public that the Postal Service does need $25 billion in stimulus funding for COVID losses. We definitely need to not return to the bad policy of delaying the mail that was implemented over the summer by Postmaster General DeJoy. And we need to open up services. We need to really expand and examine things like postal banking that can really help the agency move forward. On Tuesday, we're holding press conferences at our JCTM in Brentwood, Maryland. You can also have one too. It's easy to sign up and get involved. Just go to website apwu.org/postoffice-org, and you can either join one or you can create one in your own area. Postal Service have been very, very proud of the work we've done in delivering 65 million mail-in ballots legitimately, legally for this election. But we definitely want to keep the spotlight on postal issues moving forward.
Thank you, Aaron. That was super helpful. I don't know about the rest of you, but I got the same. I can't believe the election was last week. It feels like it's been an eternity. I would like to now turn it over to the president of the American Postal Workers Union, Mark Diminsteen, to share with us just what's at stake this time. Mark? I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now, Porter? Thank you so much. I apologize for that. Greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we look forward to your participation on next Tuesday. Look, postal workers did defend our democratic rights, that cherished, hard-fought right to vote, access to the ballot box in a safe way during this COVID world, tried, true, and tested vote by mail, ever more popular, but was even used to a greater extent in this time during this pandemic. And postal workers, on a nonpartisan basis, stepped up, did what we had to do to make sure that your vote was counted. We're very proud, but it also underscores, as the whole pandemic does, and the election within the pandemic, just how invaluable the public postal service is as a service to the people of this country, and what the small d democratic right to have public postal services means and in this case, very much meant to our right to vote. But in this COVID world, this historic pandemic crisis, the Postal Service is financially vulnerable. And we need, as Aaron pointed out, the pandemic COVID emergency relief. The post office does not run on tax dollars. Many people don't realize that. It runs on revenue. And if the revenue drops off, we're going to have a severe economic crisis in the post office. That's what all the projections are saying. And in this case, we really do need taxpayer relief. It's not for the CEOs. It's not for the shareholders. That relief goes directly to the people of the country that rely on all postal service. And the joys, delays that are due to come after this election, we have to push back now, and to make sure the promise under the law, it's a simple promise under the law: prompt, reliable, and efficient services. That's whether it's our birthday cards, whether it's medicines to our veterans and seniors, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's financial transactions, the exchange of ideas, and all the wonderful things that the post office, that the postal customers use the post office for. So what's at stake is the essential service, the universal service mandate, Social Security checks, as I said, drugs, countless packages that goes to everybody, no matter who we are and where we live. The processing, the transportation, the delivery to 160 million addresses every day. It's a wonderful right, and it's going to be at risk if we don't step up and defend this national treasure together. Our opponents are moving in for the kill. It's shameful. They're exploiting a pandemic to try to get additional cuts, undermine, and head to the dismantling of the public postal service, sell it to private companies, and privatize it. 91% of the people of the country support the public postal service. Postal workers are with them. They're with us. And we're not going to allow anybody to knock us out. We've stopped them before. We can stop them again, but we cannot let our foot off the gas. So what needs to happen? We need congressional action to save this popular, the most popular public institution, through a minimum of a $25 billion emergency funding, and for all of us to work together to make sure that the joys, delays are stopped, reversed, and we get back to the kind of post office the people of this country need. And we can win, sisters and brothers. We certainly won earlier in the year when we stopped the PMG from implementing these policies, or at least once he implemented where he had to backtrack. There was a massive public outcry. Many of you were involved. Hats off to all of you. We have to keep the momentum going. Congress is going to be back in session next week. Congress and the administration, both the outgoing administration and the new administration coming in, need to know that the Postal Service is essential for so much more than election mail, as vital as election mail was. So we need to keep the massive public pressure around the country. And we need to let our friends, our neighbors, our communities know what's at stake. And we need to make it clear to our representatives that there is this tremendous public support for the United States Postal Service at all times. This was one election, by the way. There's going to be an election next year. There's going to be election the next year after that. There's going to be a holiday season. There's all sorts of vital mail, and we need to make sure that this PMG understands that this is not called the United States Postal Business, and that's for a reason. It's named, and justly so, the United States Postal Service. And service is what the people of this country deserve. And working with the people of this country, we're going to make sure that service is here and vibrant and expanded for generations to come. Porter, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing with us just what we're up against and why we're going to win. Very inspiring. As Mark said, the Postal Service is an essential universal service. It serves every community, no matter who you are or where you live. Maybe because of that, a broad coalition of organizations have joined this fight. Everyone from democracy groups, civil rights groups, religious groups, financial reform and consumer activists, celebrities from Danny Glover and Willie Nelson to Megan Rapinoe, Kerry Washington, Taylor Swift. And I think most importantly, thousands of everyday Americans who rely on the Postal Service. If you're here, you're a part of this coalition. You may be tired from recent events. You may be tired from a whole lifetime, but you're here, and we think that's amazing. I also want to say we're not always going to be in defense mode. There's nothing inevitable about the privatization of the post office. Much of the pre-COVID shortfall at the post office is manufactured. Aaron mentioned the pre-funding mandate, but there are other measures that have just limited USPS's ability to compete with the private carriers. But we could easily go another direction. In crisis, there is sometimes opportunity. Congress and the new administration need to pass emergency relief for the post office. They need to do it. The post office is projected to run out of money sometime next year. So if they have to pass something, why not do away with some of those manufactured problems once and for all? This is the moment to present an alternative vision. Instead of selling off the Postal Service piece by piece, why not expand the services it provides to every community in America? Why not build the post office of the future right now? We could restore postal banking, for instance. Aaron mentioned that. 1 in 4 American families are unbanked or underbanked and paying twice as much money on fees and interest each year than the federal budget entire allotment for the food stamps program. That's a lot of money, $173 billion. They're spending it on accounts with big Wall Street banks that charge outrageous overdraft fees, or worse, check cashers. But what if people could have a basic bank account at the post office instead? What if you could cash your paycheck there? What if instead of paying $7.50 at a gas station ATM in some rural places, you could just use a public ATM at the post office for a minimal fee? What if you could send remittances to family members in over 100 countries? The most important reason to do this is to provide a public option for people who need it. But it's also estimated to bring in $9 billion in revenue for the post office over 10 years. There is nothing inevitable about the slow march to privatization of a national treasure. As Mark mentioned, we can draw a line in the sand now and say, this is the people's post office, and Wall Street, you can't have it. Postal banking was in the Democratic Party platform during the election, and several postal allies are on the transition team and in Congress. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but we are going to bring postal banking back. So stay tuned for more on that fight. And now I'm very excited to turn it over to Liz Powell, Secretary-Treasurer of the American Postal Workers Union, to tell us how we're going to go do this day of action on Tuesday. Liz?
Thank you, Porter. Good evening, everyone. As postal workers, we're so proud to serve our communities, and we're so humbled by all the support that the public and everyone has shown us this year. But our struggle continues, and our struggle is not over. So here I am once again, asking you at least 3 asks. Starting with the first one is to get fired up and ready to go on Tuesday, November the 17th. And we're going to do that by asking all postal workers and all supporters of the United States Postal Service to organize socially distanced press events outside their local post offices on Tuesday, November the 17th. It's simple. All you have to do is put an event on our online map. Spread the word in your community through social media and your personal networks. Recruit 1 or 2 people to say a few words on why they want to hashtag save the post office. And contact local media outlets to make sure they know where the community stands. We've done it before. We stopped the PMG this summer when he wanted to delay the mail. Now we must fight for the Postal Service we all deserve. We will provide you a host guide, talking points, and organized host support calls. We will give you everything you need to organize a successful press conference and or event. Last but not least, who's going to be the first one to step up to organize a hashtag Save the Post Office Day of Action? We're going to be watching as you go online to click that yellow button that says get involved. You never know. There might be something special if you're the first one to do it. We want as many of you to sign up, get involved, stay fired up, ready to go. Drop your name, your city, and your zip code in the chat. Shout out the cities as you drop them in. And if possible, give us some live updates on the AK map. With that, sisters and brothers, stay safe, be well. We'll see you on Tuesday, November the 17th in a post office somewhere. Thank you, Porter.
Thanks, Liz, for that call to action. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. And thank you, Aaron and Mark and Liz again for the inspiration and the perspiration. I hope everyone is excited as I am to turn up at my local post office on Tuesday. I hope to run into Aaron. Don't forget to join an event. Just go to apwu.org, hit the yellow button, and sign up there. And if you feel more comfortable holding a virtual event, you can do that. Just pick a post office or a union hall near you, make that the location of your event, and just post the Zoom details or the conference call number in the event description. It's easy. Everyone is welcome to the fight. Now, let's get to it. Thanks, everybody. See you Tuesday.